Light of the World supported the Players Association.
Yes.
And completely blew them off stage, if I'm right. It was a fantastic gig, you know. Yeah. And they blew them off stage because they didn't care, you know. They were
so tight. Light of the World musicians, like, unbelievable.
Yeah, you know, Tubbs, you know, you know, they just, you know, it's serious, you know. These were guys that you know, we all started off together and stuff, right? Anyway, so they was the support band for Players Association, who was serious dudes, you know, Mike Mendel. I can't remember all of them now, right? So we, you know, sold out gig at Hammersmith, and Light of the World came on. Young upstarts, didn't give a monkeys. What are you lot doing sitting down? Most of the people that come there actually come to see them, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, they bowl on stage and they go, what are you lot doing sitting down here, man? Everybody got up. It was smashed. And then the Players Association came on, serious musicians, done major work, you know, and everybody went to the bar. You know, complete reverse of what usually happens, right? So the after parties at Gulliver's, right? So we all piled down to Gulliver's and stuff. And the Players Association, nobody wanted to know them, right?
Well, they can't have been happy.
Yeah. You know, I don't know which one it was that came, you know, it was just like, hey, dude, how are you? And I was like, yeah, all right, mate. Yeah. Yeah. Gulliver's, you know, people don't talk about Gulliver's. You know, there was a recent program on about the club scene, and they were talking about crackers. You know, unfortunately, and I actually mean this, a lot of the retrospective things that have been made now are by guys in their 50s, right? And they actually should be made by guys in their 60s, because those guys were there at the beginning.
Yeah,
they know about Ronnie Scott's. They know about Gulliver's and all the other clubs that were really important in developing black music.
Did you ever go to Club for Dolphin at the Montcalm Hotel on a Wednesday night behind Marble Arch?
Yeah.
Greg, I think it was called
That's really early, man. That's really early. The Montcalm.
Dial 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Dial 9, man. What are you talking about? Blimey, I'd forgotten about that. Yeah.
Was it called Club for Dolphins before Dial 9, or was Club for Dolphins somewhere else?
I can't remember now, but I just remember the Montcalm because the dancing thing was so serious. You know, people became famous for being, you know, dancers. You know, Leon Herbert and Travis, and you know, just you know, if you were a good dancer, you know, and these clubs were playing music. Because, you know, when Eddie Kendricks split from the Temptations, he started making some stuff, you know, Keep on Trucking and all this stuff, which developed moves. You know, we stopped following the Americans and developed our own moves. You know, people going to what's the place in crumbs. But you know, the dance place, people, you know, were doing tap and various other things, which they bought into soul dancing and stuff, you know, and it was quite an incredible time. And these guys that are making these retrospective films are not aware of that because they're like 10 years too young, which brings me back to the interview that Idris did with McCartney, right? Mm-hmm. Idris was is a big fan, obviously, but he actually doesn't know enough. Right?
When was he born?
When
was Idris born?
Idris is in his late 40s now.
Is he?
Yeah, so you wouldn't have bought Hello Goodbye in 1964 as a 7-inch single.
No.
Goodbye was that.
I did.
68, sorry. He was a Beatles fan now, right?
67 because it was on Sgt. Pepper.
Right, no, what's going on now is there's a lot of nostalgia from people who actually weren't there. I was once asked, right, by a woman in her 40s, I believe. She said, you know, so how come, you know, me and my brother, our first guitar was a Beatles guitar, 19 shillings 11. It's 19 shillings 11 pence from Woolworths, right? 1964. We got it for our Christmas present. And she said, "So how comes you black guys were into the Beatles?" And we just looked at her for the idiot she was, because these people are just seeing it, on telly. They weren't actually there, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's a bit of an issue. People like us lot should be making these.
I was going to say it's a great story. Hear the two of you, talk about that. It would make a great documentary.
But it's interesting because that guitar you were talking about, I don't know what it looked like, but was it made of plastic by any chance?
Absolutely made of plastic.
And it had gut strings
and
the four faces on the body of the guitar, and it was shaped. It was shaped like a Fender Stratocaster, whatever.
Right, okay. So
I had that guitar when I was probably 9-10 years old at my preparatory school, and I formed a band. I was George, and my three mates were Paul, John, and Ringo. One thing that really, thinking about it now, they were so smart to get that kind of merchandise going. But I wonder if the boys ever made any money out of it.
No, they lost a fortune because the Americans knew about it, but the British didn't. And don't you know the story of Celtab?
No.
Right. Celtab is Beatles spelt backwards, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, Nicky something or the other, but, they were well connected, him and his partner. They went, they saw what was going on. And they went to Epstein and they said, look, we want to set up, what would you call it?
Licensing.
Yeah, we want to set that shit up. And Epstein wrote, well, how much do you want? And Nicky Byrne, that's his name. Nicky Byrne said, 90%.
Yeah.
And Epstein thought, well, that's 10% for the Beatles. So he said, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
They then flew to New York, where the Americans knew all about it, all about merchandising and all that kind of business, right? And set up in a hotel and announced that they were the Beatles merchandising, right? They were inundated by offers and stuff, right? And one executive from CBS took the meeting and said, look out the window. Right, this is to sweeten the deal because they know all about it, right? This is to sweeten the deal. And Nicky Byrne looked out the window, and there on the ground floor was a Daytona. And at the time, I think there were only a half a dozen. And even in 1964, it was worth untold thousands of pounds, right? They made an absolute mint out of it, which the Beatles never saw, right? You really should read Shout and Tony Bramwell's book, which is the best book of all of them, right? You need to read those books to find out how many millions the Beatles lost because Epstein didn't get it.
It's one of my dreams to get Tony Bramwell on one of these rock tales, to be honest. I've been through my life in the music business kind of wishing I was born 8 years earlier, because then I might have been working for EMI when the Beatles were at the peak of their fame.
Well, how old are you now?
That would be telling.
Yeah, I know. Okay. So I kind of worked it out.
67, give or take.
That's the same as me, right? Yeah. So,
Are we in an exclusive club here, Steve?
We can always edit it out, right? Which is hope you will. But I have exactly the same feeling, because I've got so close to, I once saw the back of George Harrison's head, right? And I shook hands with Pete Best, and that's quite an interesting one because Pete Best was probably around 96 or something was doing a talking tour. Right, and it was also the beginning of the covers band thing that's going on, which I was completely against. Anyway, he ended up in St Albans, which is not that far from where I live in Barnet, right? So Pete Best, I'm like, what? That's a genuine Beatle, man. So we all piled down there, me and my mates. And what was surprising about Pete was he didn't seem to realise that people would know shit about him. Right? But also, getting to that covers band, there was a Beatles band. They were actually called the Beatles band, which sounded exactly like them. Exactly.
The bootleg Beatles.
Right?
Is that the bootleg Beatles?
The bootleg Beatles, yeah.
No.
No, but a bit like the bootleg Beatles, because the guitarist from the bootleg Beatles played the lead guitar on Robbie Williams' Angels.
Right. Well, I don't know.
I mean, that's just a bit of trivia, anyway.
But this band was called the Beatles band. Right?
Yeah.
They were astonishing me. I stood there with my mouth open. I was listening to the Beatles, right? Anyway, cut long story short, at the end of the talk, everybody's queuing up, to have a word with them and all this kind of stuff. And just as I got to the front of the queue, this guy jumps in front of me and goes, "You're kind of dark. Are you Italian?" Right? And before Pete could say anything, I said, "No, his mother's Indian." And Pete looked at me and went, "How the fuck do you know that?" Because I've got racks of books, man. That's what's going on, right? He didn't seem to understand how important he was.
Really?
Yeah, a genuine Beatle, man. And I shook his hand. So that's cool. I can die happy now.